Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Hawkeye Parents and Family webinar series. My name is Danielle Martinez, and I work in academic support and retention, and will be the moderator for today's webinar. These monthly webinars are designed to integrate parents and family members as stakeholders in your students' education, and to provide you with up-to-date information that may apply to your students' transition to the University of Iowa. We understand that you are an important part of the student support system, and they may continue to seek your advice and guidance on many issues ranging from roommate concerns to grades and health resources. Therefore, we want you to be an informed resource for your student. We hope that these webinars provide a platform for us to consistently engage with you by providing a proactive, open forum for questions, concerns, and dialogues. Today's webinar is Making the Big Move, Move In and On Iowa, hosted by Academic Support and Retention on Iowa and Residence Education, and will be facilitated by Kate Soika, the Director of On Iowa, and Greg Thompson, the Associate Director of Residence Education. In the webinar today, you will gain a greater understanding of the on-campus move-in process and the On Iowa program. Each webinar is recorded and then posted online on Academic Support and Retention's website, so it can be accessed at a later date or viewed by individuals who are not able to attend. Therefore, during the presentation, your mic function will be muted. Later on, we will have a question and answer portion where you can either raise your hand, use the raising the hand function, or type a question into the question box. So let's get started with an overview of Move-In and On Iowa. First with Greg Thompson.
Thanks, Danielle. I'm glad to join you all today. Our RAs, our resident assistants, just moved in a couple days ago. We're in the middle of our training sessions, getting ready for opening and move in, and so we're excited for this time of year. Move-in dates and times for students that are living on campus should have already been received in their housing assignments that came via email. Our chief move-in dates will be Tuesday, August 18th, Wednesday, August 19th, and Thursday, August 20th. Students have been assigned one of those days and one of 3 time shifts available during that day to move in. Students can switch the day and time if they need to on those days that are available. We do have limited slots and opportunities to change move-in dates and times. If you're going to do that, that's something you should be doing very soon. So what does move-in look like? Move-in's going to look a little bit different. If you've had a student that's attended the University of Iowa in the past and lived in the residence halls, it's going to look a little bit different, especially on the west side of campus this year. Our west side halls are Hillcrest, Peterson, Quad, Reno, and Slater. Instead of pulling up to those residence halls right off the bat, where you're going to start for your check-in process is at the Hawk lot. When you come to town, we're going to have a lot of signage around town that's going to point you in the direction of the Hawk lot. What you're going to do is you're going to drive there, and at the Hawk lot you'll receive your room key. We'll get you checked into the residence hall. We're going to have you fill out a little bit of information, and then we're going to be sending you to your specific residence hall to move in. So we will see you at the Hawk lot. That's where your student will get their key, and then we'll be able to send you to your individual residence hall. Once you arrive at your individual hall on the west side, move-in volunteers will be available. You're going to pull up your car, and 2 to 3 volunteers with carts are going to help you unload all your possessions into the carts and take those into the residence hall for you. You cannot park at the buildings. We're going to ask you after your car has been unloaded to move your car back to the Hawk lot, and then we'll have shuttles running, the CAM bus and other shuttles running from the Hawk lot back to the west side residence halls. This is going to allow us to keep the area around the residence halls clear and easy to move in. So when you do pull up, it should be a quick unload process, and then you can spend your time up in the room getting rooms arranged. For our east side residence halls, that's Burge, Courier, Daum, and Stanley, will work a little bit differently. You will check in actually at your individual halls. You'll come into town and you'll come down Clinton Street, which will be turned into a one-way street, and you'll be able to park near or next to the residence hall where your student will be staying. The same move-in volunteers will be available around those residence halls, so the same concept, 2 to 3 hopefully folks there with carts to help you unload, get back up into your room and do that quickly. And just like the west side, you cannot park long-term around these buildings. You'll have a short period of time to unload your possessions, and then we're going to ask you to move your vehicle away from the east side residence halls as well. Once again, the Hawk Lot's an option, and we'll have CAN bus shuttles that are running to the east side of the residence halls as well. Mayflower and Park Lawn, you have a little bit different experience. You'll also be checking in at the individual halls, but luckily there are parking lots by both of those buildings where you'll be able to park and unload your cars, so it won't be quite as constrained as around some of the other residence halls. Just like our other buildings though, Mayflower and Park Lawn will have volunteers there to help you unload your possessions, get them into a cart, and get them up to your room. We will ask you, even though you have a little bit longer time to park at Mayflower and Park Lawn, that we're going to ask you to move your cars after so we can continue that flow of traffic into the buildings since we have a lot of residents moving in. Hawk Lot's an option there as well. Our staff will also point you in the direction of some closer options if that's something you'd like to look in as well. And just remember that CAN bus is going to be running during this whole time, so no matter where you end up parking, you'll be a quick 10-minute to 15-minute ride, hopefully, back to your buildings. So some of you may be saying, that sounds all well and good, but I'd like to beat the rush and maybe not be there with every other student that's moving in. We do offer that option through our early move-in process. And this is a one-day option. It's on Sunday, August 16th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It costs $45 a day to move in early. So you'd pay that fee, for example, if you were scheduled to move in on Tuesday, you'd pay that fee for Sunday and Monday. That includes the ability to eat in the dining center once you pay that fee as well. In order to sign up for early move-in, you go through your assignment letter, and you can sign up online to do that as well too. We don't have move-in volunteers during the early move-in day on Sunday, so that is one difference to make sure that you take note of. You will be able to check out carts. You still will be able to get up to your room to unload all your possessions. We just won't have those specific individual volunteers available. Let's talk about a few tips for the move-in process that will help mitigate the situation. This can be a stressful day for parents and students alike, and it's important to take a deep breath and just focus in on making it as enjoyable as possible. Even though it's beautiful in Iowa City and cool the last week, it may be warm the day of, or the week of move-in, and so plan on that. To help you, stay calm, cool, and collected, we'll have refreshments in our buildings. As I like to tell most parents, if you're feeling a little stressed, come inside. Have a cookie, have a cup of water, take a little break, and we'll make sure that everything's going as smooth as possible for you. A couple of these tips should help make the day flow a little bit easier. It's important to try and minimize the number of vehicles you bring to campus. Because parking is very limited around the halls, if you are planning to bring multiple vehicles, you may want to try and consider if that's the best option. We'll certainly try and accommodate you as we can, but try to make sure to minimize as you can the number of vehicles that you are bringing. Most residence hall rooms are pretty small. Don't feel like you have to bring a U-Haul full of all your possessions. Usually lighter is better, and you can bring more things through the course of the year to add to the room. In your assignment letter listing your move-in date and time, you also got a link to print a parking placard for vehicles that you're bringing to move in. It's really important that you remember to print a parking placard for each vehicle that you bring to campus during move-in. These are going to help us know where you need to go. They're going to help mark your car, so when you get parked around our buildings, we'll be able to help point you in the right direction and get our volunteers to help you as quickly as possible. If you do forget, we'll have some extra placards, but if you can, try to print those and bring those with you for each vehicle you're bringing. You'll save yourself some time. It's also important for students to remember to bring their ID to check in. This will be something that they'll need all through their college experience. It's a good time to start. We'll ask for that first thing when they're checking in before they can have their key. One of the things I like to recommend to parents is you don't have to make all your decisions about what to bring and add to the room before you arrive. Sometimes it's a great idea to get to the room, check in with the roommate, see what everybody's brought, and then make some decisions about what to stock your room with. There's a lot of places in town where you can find affordable options to stock your room with. We've got Targets, we've got Walmarts, we've got Costco's, all kinds of stores that will be offering deals. Don't feel like you have to bring every single thing to make the room perfect with you. There'll be opportunities to do that as your student is living in the room. One of the things we're going to ask you when you move in is for your student to be prepared to list an emergency contact and then any important emergency information about your student at check-in. Typically, these are health-related concerns, perhaps allergies or other things that our staff should be aware of in case emergency arises. They're called confidential cards because we do keep them confidential, but in the event that something occurs with your student, we'd like to have that information accessible. So be prepared to think about what emergency contact your student wants to list and any information that you think would be important for our staff to be aware of. Beds will be lofted in all of our halls with the exception of Mayflower. We found that that's the format that most students prefer because with the bed lofted, they can fit a futon underneath, they can put a desk, they can put some sort of table with their TVs if they bring that as well too. If you want your bed de-lofted, we offer 3 different levels of where the bed can be raised or lowered to. You have to complete a work order to have that happen. We don't want parents doing that on their own. Our lofts are a little bit complicated and we want to make sure that all the pieces are still with them. And so students must complete a work order to have their loft either lowered or raised. It usually takes a day or so during move-in, but we'll get to it as quickly as we can. As you can imagine, we have a lot of students, a lot of rooms, and a lot of beds that we're taking care of. So we ask for your patience on that and we'll make sure to get that bed set as soon as we can. Finally, in terms of move-in tips, your students, resident assistants, and lots of other staff are going to be available and around during this process and available for questions. Please don't hesitate to ask us. We're here to make sure that this process moves as smoothly and as easily for you as we can. And so ask questions. We'll help get you in the places that you need to be and try to make it as smooth as possible. And we look forward to seeing you in just over a week.
Okay. Well, hello everyone. My name is Kate Soika and I'm the director of the On Iowa program. On behalf of the university community, I would like to welcome you to the Hawkeye family. We look forward to having your students join us in just a couple of weeks. Hard to believe. So, what is On Iowa? Your student should have received a colorful trifold in the U.S. Postal Mail about 2 weeks ago with an overview and the On Iowa website address. In addition, an email was sent out to students earlier this week. Think of On Iowa as the second part to summer orientation. The big differences between summer orientation and On Iowa are that students will come to campus with their academic schedule in hand, move into their new dwelling either on or off campus, and their family members will leave to return home. As you can imagine, there are many emotions expressed during this time period. Through the On Iowa program, we focus helping your students connect with people and resources they may need to know in order to succeed at Iowa. On Iowa is truly a campus-wide effort to help your students start to build their sense of belonging within our campus community. If you attended summer orientation, you might remember the 5 gold banners in the front windows of the IMU. These are the 5 components of the Iowa Challenge in which your student was introduced to in summer orientation and will hear about over and over again throughout his or her undergraduate years. We encourage students to embrace these 5 components in order to graduate as a well-rounded Hawkeye. More information about the Iowa Challenge can be found on the university website. In summary, the overall goal of On Iowa is to help new students become more comfortable with their new environment prior to the first day of classes. One of the best parts of participating in On Iowa is that all of the events and activities are free, so there are no additional costs. Since we expect all members of the class of 2019 to attend the core elements on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they are already registered and placed into small groups for the On Iowa experience. We know that transfer students are coming to campus with a skill set that they developed while at another institution. Therefore, we invite and highly encourage transfer students to register by August 13th for a small group experience. This is a great way to meet other transfer students with similar experiences and become familiar with our campus and resources. So first thing first, we want you to get your students settled into his or her new residence. So go ahead and move in. The next step is to ask your students if he or she has their University of Iowa photo ID. If not, head on over to the lower level of Jessup Hall between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. to retrieve their ID. With their ID in hand, students should head on down to the second floor ballroom in the IMU to officially check into the On Iowa program. This process will take about 10 to 15 minutes. The important piece of checking into the On Iowa program is that students will receive their personal itinerary, which is unique for each student. We also email a copy of their itinerary to them on Thursday night should they lose their paper copy. Let's spend a few minutes to go through the core elements of the On Iowa program in which we expect the class of 2019 to attend. Each college sponsors a college open house as a way to welcome students. This is a great opportunity for students to interact with faculty members and learn more about their college and major. Students who have declared an open major are encouraged to attend open houses that interest them. On Iowa small group time is led by an upper class student known as an On Iowa leader. Leaders will facilitate activities to help group members get to know each other, as well as to give an overview of the On Iowa schedule. Small groups consist of about 28 students from the same residence hall area. Off-campus students are grouped together with 8 to 9 other off-campus students and also 15 or so on-campus students. The idea behind small group composition is to help students get to know other students within their residential neighborhood. On Iowa leaders will guide their students to either dinner or the Excel session on Friday. We cannot feed all 5,000 plus students on campus at one time. So students will spend about an hour at dinner and then an hour at the Excel session or vice versa. The Excel session is led by a distinguished faculty member in a large lecture hall. This will be the first time many of our new students will need to learn how to navigate a large person lecture hall that could range anywhere from 300 to 800 people. Faculty members will engage your student in a discussion to talk about the differences between high school and college academics, academic resources on campus, and ideas on how to be a successful student at Iowa. In addition, the faculty member will lead a critical thinking activity. Finally, all groups will head on over to Kinnick Stadium to spend a bit of time on the field. They will take the traditional Class I photo, learn about Iowa traditions and songs, and watch fireworks. It is a very spirited night and a great way to start off the year. The core elements on Saturday will occur primarily in the afternoon. On Iowa, small groups will meet again to talk about some of the elements surrounding the Iowa Challenge. First, they will recap the previous night's Excel session and set some goals for the fall semester. Then they will talk about the Hawks Helping Hawks program, which focuses on bystander intervention. Finally, they will attend the Pick One Expo in the IMU to explore on how they might engage in activities, volunteer opportunities, or campus jobs. Sunday concludes the final core elements for On Iowa. We like to think of this day as President's Day, and pleased that our interim university president, Jean Robillard, is very excited to be involved. Resident Assistants will lead the resident hall communities to Convocation, which is held outside on the east side of the Old Capitol Museum. Convocation is the time in which students officially commit to their academics and being a Hawkeye. Administrators and faculty members will be in attendance to lead this special ceremony. Following Convocation, President Robillard will invite all students to the President's House for dinner. This is a festive event and a way to relax prior to the beginning of classes the next day. At this point, some of you might be thinking, well, that's great, but I'm dropping off my student on Tuesday. What are they going to do prior to Friday? In short, we're going to keep them busy. As you will notice on this slide, we have planned over 100 activities on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday morning and evening, and Sunday morning. These activities are optional in nature and it allows the student to pick and choose what they would like to attend. Activities range in a variety of formats, including informational, educational, and interactive. Some activities are in the morning, others are in the evening. When planning these activities, we try to plan for a diverse student body with a variety of interests and needs. You may check out the comprehensive schedule of activities on the On Iowa website. Of course, being a research university, we conduct a lot of assessment to ensure that what we are doing is helpful and valuable to our students. I thought you might enjoy seeing some of the top ways students have shared that the On Iowa program has helped them transition into the university. As you read through these 7 bullets, I think one overall theme you will see is the connection to other people and campus resources. So I provided you with 2 sample student comments here, and here's the first one of how OnIowa helps students. And I'll just read it to you. OnIowa helped me transition into college by helping me develop some good strategies for my classes and studying. It has also helped me transition to feel like I'm at home. Before coming here, I was very nervous and scared about leaving all the people I've ever known. OnIowa helped me meet others I otherwise would not have met. And because of it, I've enjoyed myself here and have had a good transition. Another student comment, OnIowa helped me understand where things are around campus as well as resources around the university that I have available to me. So the measurements of success. On this slide, you will notice 3 outcomes students noted about being involved in OnIowa. They have connected with at least one person that they plan to keep in touch with throughout the semester, as well as learned academic strategies and how to get involved on campus. So what about you? What about families? We are offering 2 sessions just for family if you would like to attend. The first offering is a workshop titled, So Your Student is Now a College Student, How to Help Your Students Successfully Transition to Life as a Hawkeye. If you attended the Letting Go session during summer orientation, you will find the session to be a great follow-up. This workshop will be offered 3 times. Feel free to attend any session. If your student is interested in either fraternity or sorority life, or just curious about it, I would encourage you to attend one of the parent orientation sessions on Wednesday or Thursday to learn more about the recruitment process and what it's like to be in a fraternity or sorority. There are 2 sessions offered for this. Please know that we recognize the day you bring your students to campus or their off-campus apartment may be a whirlwind full of emotions, and that is okay. The bullets on this slide shows the general, not absolute, routine many families will go through that day.
Thanks so much, Kate and Greg, for the great information on OnIowa and Move-In. So we're now going to move into the question and answer portion of our webinar. Please remember that we have lots of people attending this webinar, and so presenters are unable to answer specific questions about your student's experience, but can provide information that might be helpful in guiding your student. As a reminder, if you have a question, please type it into the box on the side. I will then read the question out loud so all participants can hear and the presenters can answer. If you are unable to type your question and need the mic function, please use the raise your hand function so we can unmute your mic. If we're unable to get to your question during this webinar, we will follow up with you via email to make sure that we answer your question appropriately. So if you have a question, let's go ahead and get started. So there's a question about the ratio to RAs per student.
Yeah, so it really depends based on the building that you live in. In a building such as Burge, there's about 22 RAs, and there's about 970 residents or so. Now, some of those, so you can kind of do the math on that, but the floors are not all the exact same size, so it kind of varies. We try to shoot for an RA per every 40 to 50 residents, and some of our floors it's a little less than that. Some of it it's a little bit more, but we do try to make sure that we have a resident assistant on every floor in every one of our residence halls, and that number kind of ensures that the RAs have a chance to get to know your student and make sure that they're there to help them with their transition.
So there's a question about students who may receive an academic accommodation from ADA and if they need to let OnIowa know.
So that's a great question. What we do is we actually work with Student Disability Service and try to identify those students ahead of time and make contact with those students to just ask how we might make their OnIowa experience comfortable for them, what type of accommodations we need to provide. We do have a sign language interpreter at the bigger events, but we certainly would be more than willing to have that interpreter also at smaller events as needed. And also physical accommodations. Every year we have students who somebody broke a leg or might wear a back brace and can't walk across campus. We will work with those students and provide bionic buses and do the best we can to make sure that that student has the best experience possible. If for some reason you don't get a phone call about it, my phone number is 319-335-1733. And please give me a call because we will make sure that your student has the accommodations that they need.
We had a question about parking and parking ramps on move-in days, and if you can park in a parking ramp and pay the rate for the parking ramp. There are some parking ramps around campus. They tend to fill up pretty quickly on move-in days. They are an option, so you can keep your eyes peeled for those. There's several around the east neighborhood. There's one primarily around the west neighborhood. It's part of the hospital. That parking ramp gets full pretty quickly, but that is a possible option. So. We also had another question about the bathrooms in Mayflower. In Mayflower Hall, students have a private bathroom that's shared between two rooms. The question was, are those cleaned for the students? The answer is no. Students are responsible for cleaning their own bathrooms in Mayflower. We don't provide cleaning supplies either, so that might be something that you want to make sure to include in something that you're packing, depending on how clean your student likes the bathroom.
Another question came in about textbooks and when can your student pick up their textbooks? There are going to be many opportunities to do that during the On Iowa program. That might be something that you include on the day you move your student in to the resident halls too. So the bookstore, the Hawk Shop, which is located in the bottom floor of the IMU, will be open extended hours that whole week of On Iowa, so August 18th through the 23rd. So yes, that includes the weekends. So definitely take advantage of that. I would recommend, in fact, probably putting that on your to-do list if you can when you come to move in. Upper class students will be coming back in force on the 22nd and 23rd for that Saturday and Sunday. So they too will be visiting the Hawkeye Hawk Shop, and so it could be pretty busy on the weekend, but there's ample amount of time to pick up your books. Patience will be key, I think.
A follow-up question about bathroom cleaning as well, related to another hall. So if your bathroom is behind your private room door, you're in charge of cleaning it. If you have a more communal bathroom that's in the hall, that space is cleaned by our custodial staff. We do have custodial staff in our buildings 7 days a week, and so that's nice for our community bathroom spaces. But if your student has a private bath within their room, like Mayflower and some different room types across our system, they are responsible for cleaning that. And then we got a good question about what's the best time to arrive during a move-in time slot. So that's a great question. We have 3 move-in time slots, remember, on that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 a.m. to noon, 1 to 4, and 6 to 9. You've been assigned one of those time slots. You can come anytime during those time slots. Now, in previous years, and it could be different this year, but in previous years, a lot of folks come right when that time slot starts to unload. And so my recommendation may be to look at the middle of that time slot, especially that 1 to 4 time slot. I would look maybe at the 3 to 3:30 time period to try and get in, and recognize that I'll tell you this, and it could be completely different this year, and you may show up at the busiest time. But a lot of folks tend to show up right at the beginning of those time slots.
Someone had asked a question about during the school year and how might their student be able to tap into some of the stores that are off campus, such as Walmart or Target. One of the great things about living in Iowa City and Coralville areas, we have quite an extensive bus system. And it's not my expertise, and nobody around the table would say it was their expertise either, but I will tell you that student ID that I mentioned earlier is going to get some discounts. So students can definitely, the transportation center is right here downtown, find out how much it would cost. I think sometimes it's free for students to ride the bus. and they can easily go out to the Coralville Mall where Target is, or even to the Iowa City Walmart. So transportation is pretty plentiful here in our small community.
So a question about carts at check-in. Are they available? Can you use them? During that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, those 3 main move-in days, our volunteers will have the carts. And in order to use a cart, you'll need to have a volunteer. Now we have hundreds of volunteers that'll be helping us out over those 3 days. And so it shouldn't be too hard to find a volunteer with a cart. Our mission is to try and make sure that you don't have to lift and load in carts. We will get those items into your carts, get them up to your room for you to make it a little bit easier. On the early move-in day, that Sunday, carts will be available for checkout. So we have 2 different types of carts. We have laundry style carts, which are big and wide and on 4 rollers and can fit larger items. And then we have what I call the hotel style carts that have a hanger for clothes items as well too. So you'll see both those types of carts during the move-in process. A question here also about, do students living in the residence halls need to bring their own vacuums, or are some available to them? Most of our halls do have vacuums available for checkout at the front desks. For many of those, you need to join the hall association to be able to use those. And what that is that's during move-in, you'll be asked to pay a small fee, and then that entitles you to use lots of items at the desk, from vacuums to sporting equipment to games to movie checkout, some of those sorts of things. So you can prepare yourself when you check in. You'll be asked about the hall association. That's one of the benefits, is being able to use the vacuums. They're pretty nice vacuums as well too. So this question is about some of the bigger items that are coming in. For example, if you're bringing a futon to move in into the rooms, we will have some help. Most of our volunteers are there to man the carts, but we will have some volunteers available that may be able to help you lift larger items to take up the stairs, such as futons. Sometimes what I recommend is, if you're buying a new futon, bring it in the box. It's a little easier to get it into a cart and up to the room rather than a fully assembled futon. But we'll do our best to help you out to get some of those larger items up to the rooms as well. In some of our buildings, we have elevators, obviously, in buildings that are multiple floors. The lines for the elevators can get a little long during move-in. Some people choose to take the stairs. One of the things you might want to consider with some of your larger items is it going to fit in an elevator, or is it going to be something I need to hike up the stairs? Especially important in some of our high-rise buildings like Reno, Slater, Stanley Hall. Taking a futon or a giant carpet roll up 10 flights of stairs is one of those situations where you then may need to go have a cookie afterwards.
There's a question about parking at Mayflower. So after they drop off their student at Mayflower, where is a good place for them to park?
So the place that I typically recommend folks to park after they've done a Mayflower drop-off is, you can go out to the Hawk lot where the CAN bus runs. There also is some limited parking around the old/new Hampshire Auditorium, which is some place that people choose to park as well. The CAN bus runs from that parking lot as well. And so our staff will be able to point you in the direction when you're ready to move your vehicle after you've unloaded at Mayflower.
How do they find that basis?
This question is about where to find your check-in slot. It should be in the same assignment letter where you found your day assignment. If it's not listed on your letter that you got or within ISIS, I would give our contracts and assignments office a call to verify what that time slot is. If you need to get in touch with them, that office number is 319-335-3000, and they can clarify the specific move-in time if you're not able to see it on your letter.
So there's a question about early move-in. For folks who are moving in on the 16th, will they need to go to the residence hall itself or just on that west side neighborhood? Will there be the carts available? And then also, will they need their moving placard?
Right. So great question. If you're moving in on Sunday, the early move-in day, on the west neighborhood, you will go directly to the building. On that Sunday, if you choose to do early move-in, you do not need to go to the Hawk lot. You'll go to your specific building. That's where you'll get your key. You'll be able to check out a cart. We'll have some parking around the buildings, but it'll still be limited parking as we will have a good number of folks coming in that day. For that Sunday, you can go ahead and print your parking placard. It would be another good reminder for us to be able to see which building you're actually moving into, so we can try and get you parked as close to the hall that your student is moving into as possible.
There's a question about the IMU bookstore and if it will be open on Sunday, August 16th. In all honesty, I'm not sure, but you know what we'll do is if you go to there's two things we'll do. First of all, I will find out and we'll get it on the On Iowa website. Give me a couple days, I'll have to go down and see what those are, but we will get those on Iowa's website. The other thing you can do is if you go to the On Iowa website, you will see on the right-hand side, the Hawk Shop is actually one of our sponsors. You'll see their logo there on the right-hand side towards the bottom of the front page. Click on that logo and it will take you right to the Hawk Shop website, and so there might be more information there. But I certainly will get that added here probably early next week.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for attending, and that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much to our presenters, Kate and Greg, and thanks for joining us. All webinars are posted online on our website, uc.uiowa.edu/family-resources. Join us for our next webinar from high school to college, looking at student privacy and communication. That'll be on Friday, September 4th. From noon to 1, and will be hosted by Academic Support and Retention, the Academic Advising Center, and the Office of the Registrar. Once again, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to email us at uc-retention@uiowa.edu, and we look forward to seeing you in August. And On Iowa, go Hawks!